We live in a world where external discipline is celebrated more than internal truth. Where people quickly point out that you're late for work, but no one ever asks why you're late to yourself, to your own essence, in that deep silence where your truth speaks. Spiritual discipline isn't about religion or morality. It's not about rules written by someone else. It's about a personal decision to be honest every single day. About the courage to look inward when it's easier to stare at a screen. About choosing to listen to silence when the world screams. About standing up when you have no strength and no one's watching. This isn't the path of heroes. It's the path of a person who just wants to stay real in a chaotic world. Silence is the first teacher. We fear silence today because silence brings us back to the things we avoid. To inner voices, to wounds, to pain, to responsibility. But it is precisely in silence that spiritual discipline begins. When you stop distracting yourself, when you stop running. 10 minutes of meditation can be harder than an hour of running. Not because it's physically tough, but because meeting yourself is terrifying. Spiritual discipline begins where excuses end. When you sit in a dark room and don't turn on the light. When you hear the noise of the mind and you don't suppress it. You just watch, without judgment, without fleeing. That's where real strength begins. Not outward, not for show, but a strength that no one can take away. Solitude is the ground for growth. No one becomes truly free without learning to be alone. Solitude is not a punishment. It's a gate into the temple of the self. Society teaches us to fear being alone. It tells us we must be with someone, in a crowd, in conversation. But spiritual discipline demands solitude, because only when there are no other voices can you hear your own. Look at the masters of the past. Buddha, Christ, Lao Tzu. They all stepped into solitude, not to escape, but to confront. It is a painful trial to be alone and not break. But only then can you see who you really are. Rituals are the skeleton of discipline. Discipline without structure easily crumbles. That's why rituals are vital. Simple, repeated daily acts. Waking at the same hour, sitting at 8 a.m., meditating, writing 3 lines of awareness, walking barefoot on the earth. Not because these are magical, but because they offer a framework. Like a skeleton holds a body, rituals hold the inner spine. Without form, spirituality becomes chaos. Without structure, strength dissolves. A ritual is an anchor in the storm of the mind, something to hold on to when everything around you shakes. You can't depend on inspiration, but you can depend on ritual. Humility is essential. Without it, the path ends. Spiritual discipline is impossible without humility. Not weakness, humility. The understanding that you are not the center of the universe. It's the opposite of ego. Humility isn't submission, it's clarity. When you admit you don't know everything, you're ready to learn. When you accept you are imperfect, you stop destroying yourself over mistakes. Humility isn't falling, it's the door to real freedom. You stop living for validation. You walk your path with a steady spine and a quiet heart. Take Miyamoto Musashi, one of Japan's greatest samurai. He lived a life of spiritual discipline. Though a warrior, he was a philosopher, a hermit. He sharpened not only his blade, but his mind. He wrote of how the real path is victory over the self. He avoided comfort, fame, attachment. He stayed focused, even when he could rest. Discipline was his nature, not to defeat others, but to conquer weakness within. Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius had ultimate power, but every day reminded himself, "You are not a god, you are a man. Die but never become a slave to pleasure." He wrote to himself, "Knowing the inner enemy is stronger than any outer one. He didn't run from suffering. He met it with dignity because he knew soul discipline matters more than control. Spiritual discipline means becoming emperor of your own spirit. The body is a gateway. You can't ignore the body on your spiritual path. It's a temple through which you travel inward. When you discipline the body, you discipline the will. When you breathe deeply, stretch in yoga, sit upright, you influence the mind. Spiritual discipline requires physical presence. That's why every great path includes physical practice, qigong, yoga, or simple breathwork. This isn't mysticism, it's foundation. When the body is calm, the mind quiets. Viktor Frankl, survivor of concentration camps and founder of logotherapy, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing: the freedom to choose his attitude in any given set of circumstances." He saw how spiritual discipline kept people alive when everything external collapsed. It wasn't habit, it was meaning, holding on to an inner center in the face of hell. He proved that spiritual power can outweigh circumstance. Temptation is constant. We're tested not by disasters, but by tiny slips. 10 more minutes of scrolling, skipping a morning practice, telling yourself, it's fine to rest today. And soon, you're far from who you were this morning. Spiritual discipline is resistance to slow decay. It's the silent no when no one is watching, when only you know you held the line. Those moments build you. Peace is not the goal, it's the fruit. You won't find peace by chasing it. It appears as a side effect of discipline. You arrive at it not by reaching, but by doing what must be done. Every day, peace is the result of quiet mind, balanced body, honest spirit. It arrives not when problems vanish, but when you're strong enough to hold them. Not like a hero, but like a whole, real human. The point isn't control, it's devotion. Spiritual discipline isn't about controlling everything in life. You can't hold it all, and you don't have to. But you can be devoted to yourself, to your path, to your rituals, to your inner honesty. You can learn to be strong, quietly, wise without words, disciplined without display. Because this path isn't for the crowd, it's for you. For the part of you that doesn't want fame, but depth, not praise, but peace. And with every step, every return to self, you rise, higher and higher, to the place beyond fear, beyond doubt, to where only you remain.